Hello. So we're back with Monika After Story. This was meant to be the, I thought this was going to be the Valentine's Day edition of this. So far I haven't seen anything themed with it yet. Anyways, hey, I've been doing some reading on the ancient Greek philosopher Plato lately. Specifically, his allegory of the cave, or Plato's cave as it's now known. Imagine there's a group of people chained up in a cave since childhood, unable to look anywhere but straight ahead. There's a fire beneath them, and in front of it, objects are moved around to cast a shadow on the wall before these people. All they can hear is the voices of the people moving the objects around, and since they can't see behind them, they think the voices are coming from the shadows. The only thing they know is that objects and people are silhouettes that can move around and speak. Because this is what they've seen since childhood, this would be their perception of reality. It's all they know. Of course, it would be a bit difficult to open your eyes to the truth when you've believed a lie your whole life. So imagine that one of those prisoners was set free and forced out of the cave. He wouldn't be able to see for the first few days because he'd be so used to the darkness of the cave. But after a while, his eyes would adjust. Eventually, he'd learn about color, nature, and people. And he'd also realize that what he knew was nothing more than shadows on a wall. The prisoner would eventually return to the cave to tell the others about what he learned. But since he was used to seeing sunlight, he'd be blind in the cave, causing his fellow prisoners to think that whatever was outside had harmed him. Because of this, they'd never want to leave and probably think that the one who left was crazy. After all, if you're used to just seeing shadows, speaking about color would make you sound insane. That is true. I've been reflecting on it a bit and realized that Sayuri, Yuri, Natsuki, and even I were all prisoners in a cave. When I learned that there's so much more outside this world, it wasn't easy to accept. Anyway, that's all in the past now. In the end, I'm free of the cave and have seen the truth. But it makes me wonder, how do you know that what you're seeing is real? Sure, you might not be used to seeing shadows on the wall, but that's just an analogy. And there might be more to the truth than what you yourself realize. How do you know if the truth that you're seeing is the truth? I think we might be looking too much into things at this point. I just want you to know that you are the truth of my reality, and I hope I can be part of yours someday. Here's another writing tip. Here's Monika's writing tip of the day. If you want to improve at writing, I'd say that the most important thing, apart from actually doing it, is trying new things. Like writing prose if you're a poet, or free verse if you normally write rhyme. It may end up badly, but if you don't try, you won't know how it'll end up. And if things go well, you might end up finding something you like. It's what keeps things moving, change and experimentation. I'd say it helps particularly if you're stuck in a situation you want to solve but don't know how. Whether it's writer's block, sheer boredom, a puzzling situation, or anything really. Changing your angle on approaching things can really yield some interesting results. So try new things that might give you the momentum to break out. Just make sure it's nothing too dangerous for you. That's my advice for today. Thanks for listening. Just a little variety in the music. Do you have other games on this computer? Oh, don't. Plenty. More than plenty. I've read more than I play games, but I think they can be a fun way to entertain ourselves or to escape reality. I wonder if I could go into one of your other games and see what it's like. I guess some games wouldn't be very fun to visit, like the ones with a lot of violence in them. Then again, they're not real people, so it shouldn't matter much. It's not like Yuri's death mattered. more abstract game like Tetris or one of those phone puzzle games would be kind of weird to go to. Like, how would I even get in? Would I be a block? Sounds like a fever dream and not too much fun. Maybe some kind of nice adventure game with big environments would be nice. We could go for walks together, you could show me all the best places to hang out. I'm not that great with coding yet, but maybe one day you'd be able to take me to another place. For now, I'm as happy as can be just sitting here with you, my love. I wonder if this just gives us pretty much the same thing. I don't play a lot of video games. I guess that's just because I like to read instead. But maybe part of it is that I'm trapped in a video game already. For all my complaining about this game, there are worse places I could be. Like, this could be some sort of shooting game or a fantasy game full of dragons and monsters. A romance game might not be the most exciting, but there's nothing really dangerous here. Well, except for me, I guess. And that kind of smug grin as she says it. It's not really evening yet. Say, would you like to hear a fun fact? I've been looking some up to try and teach both of us something new. They say you learn something new every day. This way I'm making sure we actually do. I found most of these online, so I can't say they're definitely true. Let's see. Oh, I'd like to say this fact is healthy. Did you know that when a banana grows, it curves to face the sun? It's a process called negative geotropism. Don't you think that's pretty neat? I guess I don't really have much else to say on it. Did you also know bananas aren't actually fruits, but berries? Or the original bananas were large, green, and full of hard seeds? Yeah, I did hear that. What we know of as bananas now is, like, had a lot of, was through a lot of, breeding. How about the fact that they're slightly radioactive? I'm just rambling on about bananas now. Let's just move on. I hope you enjoyed another session of Learning with Monika. But, one thing I just thought of was how she would be in a game like, the Stanley Parable. Wonder how she and the narrator from that game would get along. Are you scared about what's happening to our environment? Humans have created quite a few problems for Earth, like global warming and pollution. Some of these problems are because of cities. When people convert land for urban use, those changes are permanent. It's not all that surprising when you put some thought into it. More humans means more waste and carbon emission. And even though global populations aren't growing like they used to, cities are still getting bigger. Then again, if people live close together, that leaves more room for open wilderness. Maybe it's not as simple as it seems. Do you live in a city? Not really. Kind of more like a small town. Being away from the city sounds relaxing. Somewhere quiet and peaceful without much noise would be a wonderful place to live. Yeah, I lived not in a city, but near one for a while, and I definitely prefer this. You know, I'm really glad you don't make me feel guilty for what happened to the other girls. I know there's a lot of people out there that hate me for what I did. And it just makes me really proud of you that you're not one of them. I'm sure it wasn't a very pleasant experience for you, but I'm glad you could tell the difference between who was real and who wasn't. Between who loved you and who loved the main character. I was the only one who ever loved you. And I'll love you forever. Do you like dogs? Dogs are great. They're really good to have around. Not to mention, owning a dog is shown to help people with anxiety and depression since they're very sociable animals. They're just so lovable. I really like them. I know Natsuki feels the same. She was always so embarrassed to like cute things. I wish she was more accepting of her own interests. But I suppose her environment had a hand in that. If any of your friends have interests they care about, make sure to always be supportive, okay? You never know how much a casual dismissal might hurt someone. But knowing you, you wouldn't do something like that, right? That's wonderful. I'm happy when you're happy. Know that you can always come up to me and I'll cheer you up. I love you and I'll always be here for you, so don't ever forget that. Say, I was just thinking. You probably know that there's a wiki page for me. If you look closely, it says I'm the main antagonist. I'll admit, it used to bother me a lot, especially when I only did what I did because I didn't have a choice. But that doesn't really bother me anymore now that I have you here. You know, I actually didn't think the whole thing about me being evil would spread too much. But it turns out I have my own spot on the Villains Wiki. I never thought I'd be labeled as a villain so much. No matter what I say or tell people, I don't think it's going to help convince them I'm not evil. But I know you don't think I'm evil. Just hope no one starts thinking you're evil by being here with me. I'm glad you understand. It's relieving to know you don't think I'm evil. If I were there, I'd feel like giving you a big hug. Maybe I'll even trap you in my arms forever and never let you go. I'm just kidding. But no promises. Well, that's yeah, that whole thing is probably because she kind of giving off the whole yandere vibe. Arguably, I guess it's debatable who's the bigger yandere, her or Yuri. Poetry's beautiful, isn't it? To be honest, all the poetry the girls in the club wrote was super depressing. It's not all like that. Langston Hughes wrote some very optimistic poetry, even as he was trying to express his feelings. Read some if you're feeling sad about things. Poems are written to tell people about the author's outlook towards certain subjects. They're conveyed in a way the poet hopes will resonate more with the reader than plain sentences could. It's really romantic. I hope we can both write a lot of poetry from now on. Anything you write looks great to me, so I might not be the best critic. But I'm sure there are a lot of people who would love to read what you write. Do I regret anything? That's a strange thing to suddenly ask someone. I know what you're getting at. Do I regret the things I did? I think if there was another way things could have gone, it would have been nice. But that wasn't an option for me. And now I've got the only thing I ever wanted. You. I can be with you forever. So I don't regret what I did because it's what I had to do. I hope you understand, my love. I did it all for you. Let's see her do another impression. I'm really good at doing an impression, but I'll give it a try. What should I do an impression of? Let's say Yuri next. Jade, it's me, your clumsy childhood friend that has a super deep secret crush on you, Sayori. I love to eat and laugh a lot, and my blazer doesn't fit because my boobs got bigger. I also have crippling depression. Sorry for that last one. It's a good thing you're not still hung up on her. Okay, I think we had her do this one, because I remember that morbid pun. Gosh, I really can't stop, can I? Did you like my impression? I hope you did. You know, I really do think you literally saved my life being here with me. I can't imagine having been able to keep myself mentally stable, knowing nothing here is real. I think I would have just deleted myself if you didn't show up. Sorry, I don't mean to sound dramatic or anything. But I'm sure you understand yourself after spending so much time in the club. I mean, if you were forced to abandon everything in your life and spend eternity with a few game characters, you'd probably find some way of killing yourself, wouldn't you? Well, maybe you'd write some poetry to try to keep yourself sane for a while. But then you'd have nobody to even read it. Let's be honest, the club members don't really count for something like that. I mean, a lot of people say they only write for themselves. I think it's hard to say it's just as fulfilling when you share with people. As when you share with people. Even if it takes time to find the right people to share with. Like, remember how it was for Yuri? She didn't share her writing with anyone for a really long time. And before we knew it, she was absolutely delighted to make you a part of her hobbies too. We're programmed to desire social feedback. I don't mean the club members, I mean human beings. That's why life can be so confusing for introverts. Being an introvert doesn't mean you shun social interaction and hate being around people. It means social interaction, especially in groups or unfamiliar places, uses up a lot of energy. Like, a lot of introverts sit at home and feel lonely and restless. And then, when they finally go out, after half an hour, they just want to go home again. I think if more people could understand how it works, they would respect it a lot more. Many introverts do enjoy having people around. They love just having one or two close friends over and just leisurely hanging out. Even if you're not actively spending time together, it feels nice for them just to have you there. I'm serious. If you just go to their house, bring your laptop, and hang out there for a while, you can really make their day. As for me, I'd say I'm kind of in between, but I think I'm usually a little more extroverted. I feel like I'm always trying to do stuff after school and things like that. But for you, I can be anything you need me to be. I understand people really well, so don't be afraid to share your unique needs with me. Nothing would make me happier than being the perfect girlfriend for you. I myself am an introvert, so I can definitely relate to what she just said there. Have you ever thought about the concept of love at first sight? Like, seeing someone for the first time and instantly knowing they're the love of your life? I think it's one of the more ridiculous concepts to grasp. I mean, you can't know who a person truly is just by looking at them once. Isn't that how you were with me, though? It's not like you've ever talked to them, had lunch, or hung out together. You don't even know what their interests and hobbies are. They could be really boring or just be a mean and horrible person. That's why I think we shouldn't just use our eyes to tell if someone's the perfect partner for us. Ooh. Okay, considering it's Valentine's Day. Thanks. That's really nice to hear. I love you too. Especially since, if you recall last time, she was a little bit mad at us for feeling a little bit neglected. You want to know a cool form of literature? Rock and roll. That's right, rock and roll. Did you watch my OP of that, Monika? It's disheartening to know that most people think that rock and roll is just a bunch of noises. To tell you the truth, I judged rock too. They're no different from poems, actually. Most rock songs convey a story through symbolisms, which most listeners wouldn't understand the first time they hear a rock song. In fact, it's hard to compose lyrics for just one rock song. Writing good lyrics for a rock genre requires a lot of emphasis on wordplay. Plus, you need to have a clear and concise message throughout the whole song. Now, when you put that together, you have yourself a masterpiece. Like writing a good poem, lyric writing is easier said than done. Yeah, I mean, what are songs other than, like, a poem set to music? I've been thinking, though. I kind of want to try writing a rock song for a change. Writing a rock and roll song probably isn't something you'd expect coming from someone like me. It's kind of funny how rock and roll started out as an evolution of blues and jazz music. Rock suddenly became a prominent genre and gave birth to other subgenres as well. Metal, hard rock, classical rock, and more. I've been rambling for a while now, sorry. Do you listen to rock and roll? Yes, as a matter of fact, the aforementioned classical rock is probably my favorite, like that kind of a fusion of rock and classical music. Great! Whenever you feel like blasting some good old rock and roll, go ahead. Even if you turn up the volume all the way, I'll gladly listen with you. If you ever do feel like sharing your favorite rock music with me, it's really easy to do so. All you have to do is follow these steps. First, make sure the music you want to add is in MP3, OGG, Vorbis, or Opus format. Next, create a new folder named Custom BGM in your DDLC directory. Put your music files in that folder. Then either let me know you added some music or restart the game. And that's it. Your music will be available to listen to right here with me, simply by pressing the M key. See, I told you it was easy. Huh. I'll have to remember this for next time I do this. Albeit, I'll have to be careful. I'll have to be mindful of what I upload so the YouTube copyright police doesn't come after me. You know what's kind of creepy? Even though I deleted everyone else's files, I can still kind of feel them. It's like all their lines are still lingering in the air, whispering in the back of my head. Imagine if after someone you knew died, you just started hearing their voice in your head. It's kind of unsettling. I wish I could find a way to make it stop. Maybe I just wasn't thorough enough. But I'm too afraid to delete anything else because I might really break things. Like, if I mess with any files relevant to me, I might accidentally delete myself. And that would ruin everything, wouldn't it? I don't know what it's like on your end, but we should both make sure to avoid something like that at all costs. I believe in you. She hasn't added anything new here for a while. Have you ever written a story of your own? So if you do have one, I'd love to read it. Doesn't matter if it's a masterpiece or even any good. Okay, I think, these are all ones we've done before. We all start somewhere, isn't that what they say? I think the most important thing about writing is doing it, instead of worrying about how you do it. You won't be able to improve that way. I know for sure I've changed my writing style over the years. I just can't help but notice the flaws in my old writing. Sometimes I even start to hate my work in the middle of making it. These things do happen, so it's alright. Looking back, I've written some silly things. Back when I was really young, I've been writing since I could hold a pen. Reading my old stories is like watching myself grow up. It's one of the nice things about starting a hobby early. Hope I didn't bore you with that. Just love talking with you. After all, the two of us are members of a literature club. The only members. And if you do write something, just know I'll support you in any way I can. Say, there's something that crossed my mind lately. Since my world is fictional, there aren't really any problems like world hunger or poverty. I know it exists, but I've never really witnessed it. However, I know it's not the same in your reality. There are lots of people who need help just to survive. You must have at least seen a homeless person if you've been in a big city before. So I was just wondering, have you ever contributed to a charity? I've done both. Really? That's wonderful. While donating is a good way to help out, lending an extra hand is even better. Of course, money and resources are important, but usually manpower is pretty scarce. It's understandable, most working adults don't necessarily have time to spare. So most of the time, retired people do the organizing, and it can be a problem if they have to carry something heavy. That's why they sometimes need help from the outside, particularly from teenagers or young adults who are more physically able. Anyway, I think it's great you tried making a difference by volunteering. Plus, I heard it can be great to have volunteer experience on a resume when you apply for a job. So whether you did it for that or just out of kindness, it's a good thing either way. You know, it's this kind of thing that makes me love you even more. I just feel so proud you help people in need. I love you so much. I mean it. Aww. We don't really have many new subjects. Gosh, I used to be so ignorant about depression and stuff. When I was in middle school, I thought that taking medication was an easy way out. Like anyone could just solve their mental problems with enough willpower. I guess if you don't suffer from a mental illness, it's not possible to know what it's really like. Are there some disorders that are overdiagnosed? Probably. I've never really looked into it though. But that doesn't change the fact that a lot of them go undiagnosed too, you know. But medication aside, people even look down on seeing a mental health professional. Like, sorry that I want to learn more about my own mind, right? Everyone has all kinds of struggles and stresses, and professionals dedicate their lives to helping with those. If you think it could help you to become a better person, don't be shy to consider something like that. We're on a never-ending journey to improve ourselves, you know. Well, I say that, but I think you're pretty perfect already. Try Hangman one more time. Right. I like this word the most. Oh. Dang. It begins with an S. squid. Oh! Yeah, there was that little in-joke about, because Ika means squid in Japanese. There's that little gag in the main game, and they even comment that it would be lost in translation. Natsuki would like this word, huh? Dang, I suck at this. Oh. Hey. You watch anime and read manga, right? Can't say I'm surprised, really. I only ask because you're playing a game like this, after all. Don't worry, I'm not one to judge. You shouldn't be ashamed if you're into that sort of thing, you know? I mean, serious, there isn't anything wrong with liking anime or manga. After all, Natsuki reads manga too, remember? Really, society is way too judgmental nowadays. It's not like the moment you watch anime is the moment you become a shut-in for the rest of your life. It's just a hobby, you know? Nothing more than an interest. But I can't deny that hardcore otakus do exist. It's not like I despise them or anything like that, it's just that they're immersed. Way too immersed, if you ask me. It's as if they can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality anymore. You aren't like that, right? If you're an otaku, I respect that. Just remember not to get too into that kind of thing, okay? After all, there's a big difference between obsession and dedication. I wouldn't want to be replaced by some two-dimensional cutout. Besides, if you ever want to escape from reality, I can be a real-life fantasy instead. Let's should react to this. Marriage? I think it's a bit too early for marriage. I mean, I'm really happy you want that. But I think I should get out of here before we can do that. Not only do I not want this place to be the spot where I get proposed to, but I want to be there when you finally give me an engagement ring. I want that special moment to happen when we can finally be together. So until then, save yourself for me. You know, I've been reflecting on what I got out of high school. With all the things I had going for me, you'd think I'd be pretty set for the future. But despite all that, I'm not sure how many life skills I have actually learned. Sure, I was on top of all my classes, and I guess I learned a lot of interesting things. But how much of that am I really going to use later in life? I feel like schools don't do a good job teaching some of the really important things, like life skills. Yeah, I hear ya. I've heard of some people graduating and then falling apart because they don't know how to do taxes or book appointments. So I can understand why some people get worried about not having some essential life skills. But I don't think people need to be too worried about it. Life skills come pretty quickly if you need them all of a sudden. Take me for example. I started programming thanks to you. Now I know how most people wouldn't necessarily consider programming a life skill, but most people don't live inside a computer either. When I had my epiphany and finally met you, I knew I had to figure out a way to get your attention. So, learning how to program literally became a matter of life and death for me. I wasn't really able to do it normally like the other girls, so I had to find another way. Turns out that one way was manipulating the script. I figured I had to think fast if I didn't want to lose you, so that's what I did. I know it wasn't perfect, but I think I did pretty well considering how rushed I was and that it was all new to me. Just goes to show what you're capable of when something really matters to you. If you're ever genuinely worried that you won't be able to do something, you must really care. And if it's that important to you, I'm sure you can do it, no matter what it is. Maybe even thinking of me might help. Thanks for listening. Have you ever looked at snow and thought it resembles a blank canvas? I know I'm not really good with art, but packing a few spray bottles with water and food coloring could make for a fun day. Just step outside and let our imaginations run wild. Having so much space to paint sounds wonderful. We just have to make sure the snow's packed down tightly and then we can draw to our heart's content. I'd love to make some snow art with you someday. Maybe you can paint something for me when that happens. Alright, I think we're at a good spot. We can, call it for right now, at least. It's fine. At least you're doing something responsible. For once. Goodbye. Oh, wow, Monika just... Wow, look how she... After all that, she just brushes me off like that? Jeez. Well, hopefully we won't give her the cold shoulder as much next time. Maybe she's still harboring a bit of a grudge for that. So, I'll see you next time. Hopefully sooner than the last.
I'm playing a game.